We live in an amazing world of information. It's filled with all kinds of sources, from popular to academic to scholarly. Lots of variety. We have, for example, social media, a newspaper, book, trade publication, a news magazine, a blog, a journal, an academic article, annual report, some crazy stuff. Albertans second most likely in Canada to be abducted by aliens. All kinds of things. To make sense of it, we really have to struggle. Many people are baffled as they try to unravel similarities and differences in information sources. Here are some examples of questions that you might want to ask. I'll try to answer some of them here and others later in this presentation. Is all knowledge available on Google? Well, not really. In fact, for academic literature, only about 20% of all academic literature is available through a Google search. How do I figure out if a website is reliable? That's a challenge. One thing I could suggest is find out who is responsible for it. Who's the author? What kind of qualifications do they have? What sort of biases do they have? Focus on the originator of the website. What's a scholarly article? Is it the same as an academic article? Well, the terms are interchangeable, and more on what they are a little later. Where do I find scholarly sources? That's coming up. What is peer reviewed? My prof wants peer reviewed articles. We'll come to that soon. Are blogs or podcasts academic? Well, usually not, but sometimes they are. What about news sites? Time Magazine, YouTube videos, are they academic? TikTok? Not usually, but sometimes. Why does none of this make sense? Someone should explain it. I agree. Let's start with some basic divisions in the information world. We've got, for example, popular information. This is the kind of stuff we're most familiar with. This is the information that comes flooding to you all day long, all the time. It's for public audience, produced by non-experts. Conclude everything from social media posts to many websites to news resources. And then you've got trade information. These are specialized publications for a specific audience, often highly technical, has terminology relevant to the audience, but unclear to others. Includes trade magazines, company reports, and so on. So this is really specialized stuff. And then scholarly, academic, peer-reviewed information. Those three terms are actually interchangeable. They're written by scholars on the basis of research evidence. They include academic journals and academic books. Let's look at popular information. This is the kind of knowledge that we're familiar with. We understand it because it speaks to everyone, whether we're educated or not. It comes in a variety of formats, from print to e-content to social media posts to video. This is all the information you encounter in your daily life. But it's a mixed bag. Popular information is the one format that's most likely to be corrupted by false ideas, fake news, and so on, precisely because anyone can create it, and rigorous research with evidence is not required. So is it all bad? No. Is it useful for student research? Not really in most cases, but sometimes popular information can be a great source for research. You just have to use it very carefully. Here are some examples. Primary sources. A primary source is original information. For example, a social media post from a famous person might be useful in a research paper responding to that famous person's beliefs. In the lower left here, I've got Richard Branson posting something. If I want to find out what he believes, something that he actually said could be helpful, even if it isn't a social media post. Any popular information could potentially do this. And then you have materials written or streamed to a popular audience from a noted scholar. While not exactly academic, such material can support your research when it's used in moderation. Even though it's popular, it does come from a good source. Then there's trade information. Trade information is essentially material published for people in specialist settings. Consider examples like this: model railroaders, is an example in the bottom of the screen, for hobby railroaders, leader to leader for people in leadership, and Bloomberg Business Week for business. Trade publications can also include company reports of various kinds, annual reports, position statements, etc. Are they academic? Not in a strict sense, because they often don't rely upon evidence and research. but they are high level because they're built by experts in the field and they discuss topics at a very high level. So some disciplines like business or leadership can actually include them in research papers. You need to ask your prof about this. Now we come to scholarly, academic, peer-reviewed information. This is the main information source for students in higher ed. Scholarly books and articles are based on research done by experts. Those two things are important, research and also experts doing the research. They use technical language. They cite or refer to many other scholarly publications, so you get citations, you get reference lists. Other scholars are included in the discussion. They deal with a problem or issue, often very narrowly, so they're problem-based. They base their findings on evidence from experiments and other investigations, so it depends on the discipline, but they have to gather evidence in order to support their conclusions. And they follow a definite structure based on whatever discipline they come from. Here's some terminology you need to deal with. Journal. Journal is an academic publication that is released once to several times per year. Most commonly is 4 times a year. An article is a paper or essay within a journal. So the journal is the package. The article is what's in the package. Each journal issue has several articles in it. And then there's a citation, which is the description of an academic article or book. Here's some examples. For a book, you see it's got the title in italics and the publisher. The article is a bit different. The title isn't in italics, but the journal name is in italics, and there's also some other information there. I've got some pictures here of journals, journal covers. Normally, we don't encounter these because when we're looking at journals, we're considering uh, electronic resources primarily, so you don't actually see the print copy that often. What about peer review? How are scholarly sources actually created? Let's take a look at this diagram. A scholar does the research, then the scholar, or perhaps some colleagues as well, write a paper. Uh, that paper goes to a journal, and the journal editor sends the paper to peer reviewers. Peer reviewers are other scholars in the same field. They may not even know who the author is. The author may not know who the reviewers are, but they are people who are in the same field who are qualified to investigate the paper. The peer reviewers study the paper to decide if it's worthy of publication. They may make recommendations for revisions. They may do a number of things, but ultimately, all things going well, the author will receive some suggested revisions, will revise the manuscript, and then it'll get published. Now, this peer review process is essential for quality control. That's what it's all about. When a scholar sends an article to a manuscript to a journal, the journal editor really reads the article and either rejects it or sends it out to 2 or 3 other scholars. These are the peer reviewers. The peer reviewers have one of 3 decisions usually. They can reject it, just simply dismiss it. It's not worthy. It doesn't meet the requirements of this journal. They can accept it mostly as is, so just a few typographical errors, they just accept it. Or they can accept it with revisions required from the author. That's the most common thing. The author will have to fix it, bring it up to par for the kind of level required by the journal, and then the editor reviews the revised manuscript, could send it back for some more revisions or agree to publish it. So it's all about quality control, getting this article up to a level where it meets the requirements of the journal. It's not a perfect method, but it's better than just about anything else that is being used today. So where can you find scholarly books and articles? Well, you can find them through a library search engine. That's probably the most reliable way to find them rather than going to Google or Google Scholar or something like that. Go to your library, and if there's a search engine, it may have options for searching for books, articles. It might lead you to other databases or research guides, but do the search there. And also, there are specific journal databases that might be helpful to you. Here's a screenshot of Business Source Complete as an example of that sort of thing. If you want more help with information sources, contact your local librarian or view guidance on your library website. There'll often be some information there. Here's an example of such guidance on the Trinity Western University homepage, we have a link to Building Your Research Skills, which has all kinds of guides and tutorials for doing all sorts of research tasks. Thank you very much.